New York's migrant situation continues to develop as lawmakers and leaders present ideas and solutions when it comes to housing the swelling number of asylum seekers coming to the state. We'll hear from a congressman on the latest pushback to sending the migrants upstate. Hello and welcome to Empire State Weekly. I'm John Gray in Albany. State lawmakers continuing to be at odds on where to house all those asylum seekers. The Hochul administration now assessing the possibility of housing more than asylum seekers at SUNY dorms statewide. Roughly 50,000 dorms being looked at to potentially house over 100,000 people. That would be over the summer months. This temporary solution being countered by Republican lawmakers who suggest the migrants be housed at convention centers down in New York City. All of this coming as Governor Kathy Hochul and other lawmakers continue to push the federal government for additional support. Senator Chuck Schumer explaining the steps he's taking to keep New York taxpayers from feeling the cost of the migrant situation.
Well, we're working very hard to have the federal government make sure that New York taxpayers don't pay the load. We've gotten $800 million already, but in the next budget, we're fighting to get significantly more.
To give us more details on the continuing response to these asylum seekers in New York State, we're joined now by New York Congressional Representative Mark Molinaro. Mark, welcome to the show.
Glad to be back. Thanks very much.
Talk to me about this crisis. How bad is it? Because you see buses, but you add up a lot of buses, it becomes a lot of people.
It certainly does. Listen, we've had a humanitarian crisis at our border for too long, knowing full well that policy was going to change. The president and the White House didn't take any preventative action. And while we in the House did pass a border security bill meant to secure the border, streamline asylum, make sure that families remain united, this administration has lost contact with 85,000 unaccompanied minors, and it's heartbreaking. But nevertheless, here we are, the city of New York, overwhelmed. New York City identified itself as a sanctuary city. That was its choice. I have no way of undoing that. That's its choice. And now is overwhelmed by the numbers of individuals being transported to the city. And let me just tell you, despite obviously our concern and really response that New York City shouldn't be outsourcing these human lives to other parts of the state. The city's own budget director said only a few days ago, the quiet part out loud. They informed the city council that one of the reasons that they're moving these human lives, these individuals to upstate New York is because it's cheaper. And that just is inexcusable.
Let's talk about that. We've had some counties, some jumping out, Rensselaer County up outside of Albany, right out of the gate saying, hey, look, we're declaring emergency. We can't take them. Can you stop the city and the governor or Eric Adams from sending them throughout the state?
Well, the governor and president should have already interceded. And this isn't about being heartless. I was a county executive for 12 years. We welcomed asylum seekers into our community through federally designated shelters. And what that means is when we did it, unaccompanied minors and adults, with every individual came information, a direct connection, and the ability to onboard, if you will, into Medicaid or social services. And we were able to manage that because it was a thoughtful, coordinated process. This is none of it. This is chaos, and the city is simply outsourcing individuals for a period of time without coordinating with counties, without sharing any of the detail, without communicating with social service staff, without preparing school districts, and without any capacity for those counties to manage the influx of asylum seekers, of these undocumented immigrants. And so the counties took the only action they had, and I would have done the same: declare a state of emergency, work to preclude the city of New York overstepping its authority. It has no jurisdiction in upstate New York. It has jurisdiction only within the four corners of the city. And the governor and the president should have declared a state of emergency. The president's yet to do that. Direct federal and state resources to the city of New York and allow and assist the city to address their welcoming community, right? Their status and these individuals within the city, and not outsource these human lives simply because it's cheaper. And it's just not the way to treat human lives, and it's neither compassion, it's not progressive, and it's entirely chaotic.
I know in your press release you said it was literally an illegal thing to do to just force this on these counties to show up with a bus, put them in hotels where they're being told, please don't come here. If you follow this through, though, and let's say a county executive sues, New York's a blue state, do you end up in front of a Democratic judge who then sides with the governor or President Biden, and you're back to square one where you have to take them? There's no choice.
Well, listen, I would hope, and perhaps I'll be a bit optimistic, that the court will follow the law and the Constitution. But what we have seen is counties take action with temporary restraining orders, and even Democratic designated judges are ruling in favor of the temporary restraining orders. Why? Because the city isn't following the law. The city isn't sharing or coordinating information. There is no transparency. There is limited, if any, communication. And it is not within the city's jurisdiction to move individuals to hotels and, by the way, locations in upstate New York that are already designated as shelters for upstate New Yorkers dealing with homelessness and housing insecurity. And this is this is really the part that upsets most people. We're facing significant challenges of poverty, lack of job opportunities. We see far too many people living in homelessness. We have veterans living on our streets. At the end of the day, each county, as the city, is responsible for providing direct care and support for those individuals. And because of what the city's doing, they're adding this unexpected, uncoordinated, unapproved new challenge and cost to counties that are already, doing the right thing, trying to assist those who are struggling hard already within our communities.
What do you say to Governor Hochul? She said the other day, she had a news conference that said, hey, we got like 5,000 agriculture jobs unfilled right now. We have other jobs unfilled. This is a good thing. We've got these people. We'll have jobs for them. What do you say to that?
Yeah, decisions like that made out of desperation and chaos are not good decisions. And there's little question we as a nation have to address the work visa and visiting worker programs. We have to open access through a coordinated process. This isn't that. These are individuals who are being transported without information, without knowledge as to where or what challenges they face. And by the way, we might designate them as asylum seekers. There's a process to determine whether or not they truly are asylum seekers. And so that's why I voted for a bill that strengthened border security and streamlined the asylum process so that we can get through that backlog and help people who are truly destined to become Americans, destined to come here for asylum, destined to seek the freedom that we offer. We need a process that accommodates them. At the same time, we have to open up certainly and ensure a safe expansion of work visa programs. Always supported that. But what the governor's suggesting is, let's throw up our hands. Let's simply accept what the city's doing. Let's not do anything to coordinate it appropriately. And then let's just give stamp of approval in every case. That just isn't something that will lead to smart policy or, by the way, long-term stability for the individuals or the employers seeking employees.
Last 30 seconds, do you worry that, let's say it all worked out and you waved a wand and Kathy Hochul found them jobs and they found housing, and do you worry it's going to encourage more people then the word gets out and more people come across the border next week, next month, next year, because look how great this is. You wait it out, they find a place for you to live, they find you a job.
Yeah, well, Kathy Hochul is not the Wizard of Oz. You don't get to pay no attention to the man behind the curtain while you come up with some magic solution. So at the end of the day, yes, we have to have a process that welcomes people. We cannot continue to incentivize this kind of activity by the city, and certainly we need to ensure border security.
All right, Congressman Mark Molinaro, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today.
You bet, and let's pray for those families that live with the loss, those men and women who served us across the globe all these generations.
Absolutely. Thank you, Congressman. Memorial Day weekend shaping up to be one of the busiest travel holidays of the year. But how safe are the roads? We'll be hearing from a state police representative on what they're doing to crack down on unsafe driving. If you have got a comment, maybe a story idea, someone you'd like to see on the show, let us know about it. You can email us at news@news10.com or just reach out on Twitter. You'll find our handle at WTEN. Welcome back to Empire State Weekly. I'm John Bray in Albany. This Memorial Day weekend is shaping up to be a busy travel one. State officials expecting the weekend to be one of the busiest travel weekends ever. Most of the travel expected for Friday, according to AAA. More than 37 million Americans expected to hit the road. TSA also prepping for some 3.4 million people traveling by air. TSA officials recommend that with the busy travel season, arrive at your checkpoint 2 hours before that flight is set to take off. New York State Police also taking to the roads to keep us all safe during the Memorial Day weekend. A special enforcement against drunk and impaired driving will last through Tuesday, May 30th. Joining us now to give us additional insight into all of this is State Police Major Brent Davison with the traffic enforcement. Major, thanks for being here today.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Talk about how important this is this weekend, because there's a lot of people on the road, correct?
Yes, Memorial Day weekend is one of the more highly traveled holidays of the year, and safety is certainly a top priority for the New York State Police, for our troopers, for the drivers and passengers that are on the roadways. And that's why initiatives such as the Memorial Day traffic enforcement is so critical to trying to keep the roadways safe.
Talk to me about how that works. Do you surge like extra troopers to be out there looking for violators? Is it even possible to get a Memorial Day weekend off if you're a state trooper? Is it kind of all hands on deck with such a busy time?
It is a very busy weekend. The state police, along with the local partners, have additional patrols out this weekend, looking for impaired and reckless drivers. Like I said, with our goal of keeping the roads safe.
Has it gotten trickier in terms of enforcement, because you've got so many people with these almost smart cars now and computers? There's a lot of distractions. It's not, when I first started driving 40 years ago, it was, you looked out the windshield, that was it, and maybe you tuned the radio. Now there's so much going on inside of these cars.
Yes, unfortunately, distracted driving is something that we deal with on a regular basis, along with reckless driving, impaired driving. One of the tools that we use to help us so we're not as visible is our concealed identity vehicles. We have vehicles that look like everyday vehicles that allow us to blend in with traffic more and be able to get a better look at what's going on and not be noticed as much.
And also with texting, and the rules have changed. I've seen people, well, they'll try to argue, I wasn't texting, I was talk texting, I was talking into the phone. They shouldn't even be doing that kind of stuff, right? I mean, the phone should not be in your hand.
Correct. You should have both hands on the wheel, and you shouldn't be distracted at all by your phone.
Is it getting a little trickier too now with marijuana and cannabis becoming more legal? I know that this is all uncharted territory, isn't it, for troopers and really all police officers in terms of figuring out impairment, and where do the rules go there? If you pull somebody over and you smell it in the car, walk me through that a little bit.
Certainly, as usual, if we stop a vehicle for some sort of infraction and we observe the driver, if they appear to be impaired in any way, we start asking them questions about that. And if it seems like they may have consumed some alcohol or drugs, we ask them to step out of the vehicle, and usually we'll put them through some sobriety tests to ascertain whether or not they're impaired. And whether it's by alcohol or drugs, if they're impaired, we'll have to make the arrest.
Has there been a change in how you guys do the job as well? What I'm asking is, it seems like years ago, I'd always see you at the driver's side door taking license and registration. Now it seems to be on the safer side, the inside, if somebody's pulled over on the right side of the road. Was there a change years ago to do that, or am I just imagining that I'm seeing more of that?
No, we are starting to teach to approach from the passenger side. Unfortunately, many police officers have been struck by standing on the driver's side of the vehicle. As we said, drivers are distracted, they're not paying attention. Sometimes they stare at the lights. So it tends to be a safer point to stand and speak with the operator of the vehicle on the passenger side, so you're not as close to traffic and you have vehicles to provide cover.
If you do see a trooper with someone, or any officer with somebody pulled over, there is a move over law, right? Talk about that a little bit. Obviously it has to be safe to move over, but you should be getting out of the way a little bit, right?
Correct. If you can safely do so, you're required to move over for any police officer, first responder, or even tow truck.
I know I ran out of gas a few years ago on 787, and I was literally sitting on the guardrail waiting for someone to help me out, a family member to bring me some gas. I was stunned how fast vehicles go by, how literally, especially trucks, can literally shake almost like they're shaking the pavement. People don't understand how dangerous they're being when they're getting that close to a car, are they?
That's correct. It's extremely dangerous, and obviously, pedestrians are struck every year. So that's why it's important to stay away from the roadways, and it makes the job of being a police officer out there even more dangerous.
AAA is always putting out tips like to check your oil, make sure the car is going to work right. You don't want to break down, but things do happen. Cars have issues, especially when you get the hot weather. Any tips for people if they do happen to break down and they find themselves on the side of the road? What's the best thing? I remember in the old days you'd tie something to the antenna or put the hood up. What do you recommend people do if they do break down?
Yeah, I recommend trying to get off the roadway as much as possible. Put your flashers on and don't exit the vehicle. Dial 911 and explain to them the situation and try to wait there until help arrives.
What about getting out of the vehicle but getting like up on a way away from the vehicle? Would you still say stay with the vehicle if you can?
I would say stay in the vehicle, because anytime you exit the vehicle, especially from the driver's side, you're putting yourself out there in traffic. I guess if there was a lull, you may be able to get out and get away from the vehicle, but I still think the safest spot is probably to be in your vehicle with the flashers on and dial 911 and wait for help to arrive.
It's got to be tough sometimes to pull people over and they're instantly mad at you like you're trying to ruin their day. Talk about that as one of our last points here. You're not trying to ruin everybody's Memorial Day weekend. You're trying to keep the roads safe, right, by getting people who are really driving aggressive or fast to just slow down?
Correct. Unfortunately, hundreds of people are killed every year and thousands are seriously injured due to reckless and impaired driving. Our goal is to save lives. It's to not have to go to somebody's house and tell them that their family member will not be coming home due to a death. So it's not that we enjoy writing tickets, but we do what we have to do to try to make the road safer and save lives.
And again, you are going to be out there with some extra patrols, so if people don't drink and drive, right? Don't be impaired, just be smart.
Correct. We're going to have extra patrols out. We suggest that if you're going to attend any kind of parties, if you think you're going to drink, make a plan in advance. Have a plan to have a family member or a taxi or one of the shared driver services to pick you up, and to make that plan in advance.
Well, if people don't want to do it for their own safety or safety of others, Major, it's also, if they've never had a DWI arrest in their family or a friend, it's a lot of money to get through this, correct?
It is. It's a costly process, and obviously even worse than that, you could take the life of somebody else or yourself.
Right, and I'm yet to see somebody do that and not get jail time. You're going to go away whether you meant to hurt somebody or not, correct? In most cases.
In most cases, yes, especially if you kill somebody or seriously injure somebody.
All right, Major Brent Davison, thank you so much for coming on this morning, and have yourself a nice Memorial Day weekend and a safe one.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
We thank you so much. Lawmakers taking steps to address bullying. When we come back, how Jacob's Law would bring parents into the loop when their student is being bullied, and why some have concerns about the measure. Hey, if you got a comment or a story idea, we'd love to hear about it. Let us know. Email us at news@news10.com. You can also reach out and find us on Twitter at WTEN. Welcome back to Empire State Weekly. I'm John Gray in Albany. Bullying. Experts with the state say 1 in 4 students report being bullied during the school year. New proposed legislation has the goal of better informing parents when their child is facing bullying. Jacob's Law, requiring teachers to notify parents when their child is being bullied at school. The law is named after Jacob Taras, who died of suicide in 2015 after reportedly being bullied. Current law requires teachers to report instances of bullying to the state education department, but not the child's parents. Sponsors of the bill, Senator Jim Tedisco, explaining how this bill could help save lives.
They don't want to go home and tell their parents what is happening, and that can turn into a tragedy. That's why it is so important to let the parents know.
Those opposing it are weary, though, that if a child is being bullied for reasons that have to do with their sexuality, letting the parents know what's going on could make things worse at home. Stay tuned. We'll be back with another look at the week ahead in just a moment. Also, if you have a comment or story idea, let us know. Email us at news@news10.com, or you can reach out on Twitter. You'll find us at WTEN. Finally, on Empire State Weekly, as the immigration situation continues to develop, some cities and communities in upstate New York are welcoming new arrivals. This past week, officials in Buffalo announcing they would be supporting the arrival of the asylum seekers. The New York Immigration Coalition releasing a statement on Buffalo's announcement, saying of the coming asylum seekers, quote, "They are a part of our communities and have rebuilt our economy. We are proud to stand up and to welcome any new asylum seekers who may come to Buffalo." Next week, we'll be speaking with the Immigration Coalition to get their take on this developing situation. But for now, from all of us here at Empire State Weekly, I'm John Gray in Albany. We'll see you next week. And hey, don't forget, you can catch Empire State Weekly all over New York State. Here's the full schedule of Empire State Weekly on 10 television stations all across the great state of New York.